Let everybody know we started recording. So, get this thing going.
All right, hello, welcome. I'm David Hammond, hearings coordinator of the Bureau of Right Away. Bathrooms are right in the back, men's is on the left, women's is on the right. In case of emergency, this is our closest exit, so we'll leave out that exit. About all I have, so I'll turn it over to our commission chair.
Okay, I call this hearing for the Albany project number 45056 to order at 6:04 p.m. on Wednesday, November 19th, 2025. I'm Ron Adams, chairing this commission appointed by the governor and executive council on October 1st, 2025. Kelly Robitel and Paul Robitaille are also members of the commission. The meeting is held in accordance with RSA 230-14 and the Surface Transportation and Uniform Relocation Assistance Act of 1987, and we are recording this hearing. The hearing aims to gather comments from you, the public, to hear evidence of the project's economic, environmental, and social effects, and its consistency with the goals and objectives of planning undertaken by the Department of Transportation. Based on all the information provided, it is this commission's responsibility to determine if the project should go forward. Therefore, everyone who wants to make requests or suggestions should do so tonight. The commission will decide after the testimony portion of the hearing is concluded if we have all needed to move on to the next step in considering this project. If this is the case, we will conduct a finding and necessity meeting immediately following the conclusion of this hearing tonight. We'll hear several presentations tonight. First of all, I'll ask the project manager, Jason Ayotte, from the Department of Transportation, to introduce the project and the people who will be speaking tonight. After their presentations, I will open the floor to those who wish to address the commission. I turn the meeting over now to Jason Ayotte.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson and members of the commission. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jason Ayotte. I am the project manager for this project, and it is my pleasure to be here this evening on behalf of the New Hampshire Department of Transportation. Tonight's meeting is a public hearing to present the preferred safety improvements to the intersection of New Hampshire Route 16 and Nickerson Road in the town of Albany. I would first like to introduce the department's team who will be presenting tonight. Hans Weber, all the way to the right, New Hampshire DOT's Bureau of Highway Design Group Leader. He is responsible for the technical design. To his right, or to his left, is Melly Doobie, New Hampshire DOT's Bureau of Environment Senior Environmental Manager. She will be covering our environmental regulations and the impacts associated with the project. And lastly, I have Eric Sargent, our administrator of New Hampshire DOT's Bureau of Right-of-Way. His bureau is responsible for the plans, the appraisals, and the acquisitions, if needed, as needed for this project. I would also like to thank David Hammond, New Hampshire DOT's hearings coordinator in the back, and our team present tonight with the Bureau of Right-of-Way for their efforts to schedule and conduct this public hearing. We will try to be as succinct as possible in presenting the project information and anticipate our presentation will take about 30 minutes. Following the presentation, Commission Chairman Adams will open the floor for your comments and questions for the record. Tonight, we are presenting the proposed safety improvements at the intersection of New Hampshire 16 and Nickerson Road, located approximately 0.8 miles north of the Tamworth town line. The intersection was originally highlighted as a potential intersection improvement candidate in the 2015 New Hampshire Route 16 Corridor Safety Assessment completed by the Lakes Region Planning Commission and North Country Council. Later, the Albany-Madison 29597 safety study evaluated intersection options, and the preferred alternative to add the left turn lane has the greatest benefit to reduce crashes at the intersection compared to other alternatives. Following the 2024 public meetings to determine the preferred Albany-Madison 29597 segment and location, the New Hampshire 16 and Nickerson road improvements qualified for Highway Safety Improvement Program, or HSIP funding, and the Albany 45056 project, which we are here tonight to present, was created. New Hampshire 16 is a regionally significant major arterial for the state of New Hampshire on the national highway system and therefore eligible for federal highway funds. New Hampshire 16 is posted at 50 miles per hour, and the average traffic along the roadway today is over 9,100 vehicles per day, with seasonal peaks and weekends experiencing much higher volumes. This section of roadway was constructed in 1939 with 12-foot travelways, 1-foot shoulders, and a total width of 26 feet. Over the years, shoulders have been widened from 1 foot to 4 feet in this section. The upper right picture of New Hampshire 16 looks north and presents the roadway width of 32 feet and aerial utilities on the east side of New Hampshire 16. The lower right picture looks south and illustrates the proximity of driveways, utilities, and the passing zone conflicting with the intersection area. Nickerson Road is a local town-maintained 24-foot roadway constructed in 2008 to provide better access to New Hampshire 16 for the private community. The town purchased an easement from the property owner, and there are no utilities within this section of the roadway. The purpose of the project, NHDOT Albany 45056, is to improve safety and access management at the intersection of New Hampshire 16 and Nickerson Road. The need for the project is demonstrated by crash history, driveway conflicts, poor siding and pavement marking layout, and poor intersection site distance. In the 10 years between 2013 and 2022, drivers experienced 11 crashes at this location, consisting of head-on, sideswipe, rear end, or run-off-the-road crashes, of which 36% experienced severe or minor injuries at the intersection. Existing driveways within the intersection functional area complicate decision-making for driveways attempting to enter or exit New Hampshire 16 and increase conflict points and crash risk. For this section of New Hampshire 16, the NHDOT driveway policy prefers residential driveways at least 200 feet from intersecting roadways. Currently, there are no NH16 advanced warning signs notifying drivers in Nickerson Road, and the existing passing zone conflicts with the intersection. Missing advanced warning signs and the passing zone complicates decision and increases the risk of conflict with turning and crossing traffic. Lastly, the aerial utilities and vegetation can obstruct intersection sightlines for Nickerson Road, which increases the risk of crashes with the intersection and approaches, reducing the perception and reaction times on higher speed roadways. This is where drivers may misjudge the speed and distance of oncoming vehicles. In the original corridor planning evaluation, the design team collected traffic volumes, crash reports, pavement cores, natural resource inventories, and analyzed different alternatives for the intersection with Nickerson Road. The design team evaluated lane widenings, signal warrants, and other intersection control, and found a left turn lane is warranted, but a traffic signal could not be justified based on traffic volumes. In response to the community's concern about reducing New Hampshire 16 traveling speed, designers also evaluated a roundabout. However, NHDOT received negative feedback for this option, and a left turn lane will address the intersection's crash history. At the December 2024 public meeting, NHDOT presented the safety analysis and preliminary engineering recommendations to the Albany 29597 construction funding to the section of New Hampshire 16 starting at Pine Knoll Road and ending approximately 0.8 miles north of the Albany-Madison town line, which the town of Albany concurred with this recommendation of the departments. NHDOT also presented the Ossipee Milan 40845 safety improvement project that installed rumble strips, within the New Hampshire 16 Albany section, helping to reduce lane departures and crashes in the interim. NHDOT also assessed the benefit of Nickerson Road left turn lane widening and found the lower cost made the location eligible for a highway safety improvement program. The Highway Safety Improvement Program requires the project benefits outweigh the costs, making the project economically justifiable, or the expected value to reduce crashes is greater than the construction cost. New Hampshire 16 and Nickerson Road intersection improvements address the crash and traffic problem on its own without the support of the Albany-Madison 29597 and therefore the department can create and implement the Albany 45056 project as a standalone investment due to its measurable benefits. The Albany 45056 project begins approximately 500 feet south of Nickerson Road and ends approximately 900 feet north of the intersection. The intersection improvements will widen New Hampshire 16 to add a southbound left turn lane, reconstruct driveways to conform to the NHDOT driveway policy, replace culverts, construct swales for conveying stormwater and improving water quality. To prepare for this public hearing, the team evaluated traffic, costs, widening impacts, and construction requirements to maintain traffic. An initial project review with the aerial utility companies has occurred to evaluate utility relocations and the durations expected. The design team is here tonight to share with you the considerations and constraints of this location, rationalize the importance of the improvements, and the need for New Hampshire DOT to complete the repairs, and explain the process to seek rights to construct and maintain the roadway. Additional engineering work is underway to finalize the right-of-way impacts and provide the design details needed for construction. Tonight's meeting is a significant milestone in the project's development where it allows NHDOT to finalize federal requirements under the National Environmental Policy Act and begin the right-of-way procurement phases. I will now ask Hans Weber, who is responsible for the design, and explain the plan that you see and present the details, expected impacts, and rights needed for this project. Hans.
Thank you, Jason. So for this portion of the presentation, I will be speaking to the plan. I know a couple folks are seeing it in a way that might make it difficult to see. The plan will also be around the rest of the evening, so happy to chat with you a little bit more after the hearing. But if you cannot see and you feel like you will want to make comment as part of the meeting, I encourage you to consider switching seats. Jason did a lot of the expectation setting already for why this project exists, so I'm not going to rehash too much of the purpose and need, but instead orient you for the plan itself, the colors that we have represented in detail on the page here, and talk about the impacts and expectations you might have as the community seeing this project go out to construction. So the project itself, to orient yourself on the plan, we've got the south was on the left side of the page, so that is south towards Hanworth. And then on the north side is towards Madison ultimately, but also towards the town hall where we are tonight. Jason mentioned the project limits are approximately 500 feet south of the Nickerson Road intersection, which is approximately centered on the plan here, and then extending 900 feet to the north. We'll talk about why it's, split that way in just a few minutes. But we'll talk first about the colors on this plan and how you can correlate it to what you experience as drivers out on the roadway. So starting from the center of our road, you'd expect to see the yellow lines, the double yellow, or in this instance it is a passing zone, so a single yellow and a dashed yellow. The numbers on this kind of center dark black line, that is representative of the middle of the road today. This project, as Jason mentioned, is proposing to add a southbound left turn lane, and we are proposing to widen on both sides of the road in order to create that space for that left turn lane. As opposed to just widening in one direction, we're splitting those impacts on both sides of the road. So everything shown in yellow is representative of what we refer to as the traveled way. That is from the white line to the white line on both sides of the road, and then we expect that double yellow, generally speaking, to be in the middle of that yellow space. The yellow is, at the southern limits of our project. We have an orange that is representative of a pavement overlay approach. So just saying we aren't doing earthwork disturbing activities there, but we need to overlap new pavement with the project's working area in order to make sure that everything rides smooth to the public. Then we enter the area of the primary improvement. So we've got the yellow for the traveled way, and you see this orange color in the middle. That is representative of a painted item, so where we start to move the yellow line away from the center in order to push traffic right or left, depending on which side of the road they are traveling. That creates the space for that left turn pocket. So this is proposing a 12-foot wide left turn lane. So in the southbound direction that exists, so that you can find refuge and safe opportunity in gaps in traffic in order to turn on Nickerson Road, as opposed to stopping and hoping that traffic behind you sees your brake lights. On the north side of our project, it's the same thing, but in reverse. We've got that orange area again, representing just the pavement overlay transition into the project area. We've got the yellow of our traveled way. You see that widening of that middle turn lane pocket, and then the orange painted island shrinks back down in order to allow vehicles to move from the southbound through lane into that left turn lane, and then there's purported to decelerate and come to a complete stop by the time you wait for that gap to enter Nickerson Road. And it's because of that additional traffic shifting and deceleration length and then storage length, that is why the project has greater linear impacts north of the intersection as opposed to south of the intersection, where we just need to close that 12-foot lane back to the existing condition out there today. So with the exception of the 12-foot wide left turn lane, we are proposing 11-foot travel lanes, which is consistent with what's out there today. And we'll be formalizing a 5-foot paved shoulder, where Jason mentioned earlier what's out there today is really more like a 4-foot paved shoulder. So 5-foot meets a modern design practice in New Hampshire in order to provide a larger space for vehicles that need to pull over on the side of the road. It also meets our modern guidelines for bicycle accommodations in order to make sure that they have some space to function on the pavement, but they can keep an adequate amount of separation from passing vehicles. Beyond the white line, between the white line and the edge of the pavement, you see this brown strip, so that is what that 5-foot shoulder is on both sides of that yellow space in the middle of the road. Beyond the brown, you can't really see it, but there are dotted lines out here that represent the existing edge of pavement, so when you get a chance to get a little closer to the plan is also posted on the project website. You can find through the DOT's website. You might be able to see those details a little closer. But you can see where the new edge of pavement and the outside limits of that brown, I guess, shows the expanded pavement footprint compared to what's out there today. Beyond that widened pavement, you've got this light green line style that is representative of the slope work that the project is proposing. So really looking at mostly 6-to-1 and 4-to-1 slopes out here, and that means generally flat slopes and stuff that we will grass and seed as part of our project work, and it'll return to a pretty normal roadside condition. In areas near properties, we are happy to work with property owners about the use of loam instead of our standard humus, and that will provide more of the lawn-style grass instead of what you might see along the rest of the corridor, the standard roadside grass. Beyond the green limits, we have a white gap in many instances that's representative of where trees might exist today, but we want to clear in order for our contractor to do the work and operating machinery and placing new soil or layers of embankment in order to transition the slope safely from the new roadway down to the surrounding areas. So you'll see examples here on the top side of the page where there's a 5-foot clearing line proposed past the limits of the earth disturbing activities. So maybe hard to see at a distance. We do have the tree line styles, kind of like a clouded shape, so you can really visualize when you get a little closer where we are trimming the trees back by about 20 or 30 feet in some instances in order to accommodate the roadway widening. What we experience here for right-of-way, which is effectively the state property line for the road lines and the labeled existing right-of-way, that is 66-foot wide as part of the project limits, or through the project limits. We aren't proposing to buy or widen the right-of-way. It appears that we can fit our pavement footprint and surrounding slopes pretty comfortably within the right-of-way for what we would need to maintain in perpetuity. There are some exceptions to this, including a water quality treatment swale to the south, and 2 drainage crossings where we are proposing drainage easements. So that is establishing a new permanent right-of-way agreement with the affected property owners so that our highway maintainers can get out there for years to come and make sure that those drainage facilities continue to function, clean them out periodically, make sure they're not clogged, and contributing to any flooding issues for the abutters. The bigger component there that I don't want to try to gloss over is the larger drainage easement on the Chicora Conservation Foundation land to the south. So this project has a large enough footprint that it falls under our alteration of terrain rules. That's an agreement that we have with DES that says as we propose projects above a certain footprint, we need to ensure that we are capturing and treating stormwater rather than just letting it through the discharge into the surrounding environment. And we know that with the Iona Lake to the north and the Chicora Lake and Chicora River to the south, their water quality is a concern in the community of Albany. So for this project, we'll be shifting the crown line on the top of the roadway to the right side or bottom side of the page here in order to make sure that most of the water that just sheet flows off into the surrounding unnamed brook and woodline today will instead be captured in an artificial ditch, a berm ditch that we're creating beyond the edge of pavement. And then the roadway slopes from north to south in order to convey that water to this new water quality treatment swale. So it's a very flat grass ditch that allows for contaminants and particulates to settle out prior to discharging into that unnamed brook. So the water that's out there today is untreated. At the close of the project, not all of the water will be captured and treated, but a good portion of the roadway for our project limits will be directing the water to that treatment facility. Jason mentioned that access management is one of the safety proposals as part of the project. So we have some guidelines in our DOT driveway policy manual that talk about distance, preferred distances of driveways to other driveways and intersecting roads. We also have guidance in our policy about how wide driveways should be. So we had a few instances throughout our project limits where grandfather conditions don't necessarily meet that modern design practice and are current by the policy manual. So as part of the project work, we're proposing these access management changes. So we went south to north. We've got the Shiro parcel here has a U-shaped driveway today with a northern connection is very near to Nickerson Road, the primary focus of the project, and the creation of a left turn lane and trying to make the intersection more conspicuous and safe. We feel it is appropriate to limit the connection to this parcel to just the southern access point. It works a little bit with the property owner, and we continue to work with the property owner to make sure that as we remove the access point from the north, that we try and find some other ways to make them whole as part of the project work. So what you see on the page here is not the final condition, but it's representative of the spirit of the project's improvements. As we move north past Nickerson Road, we've got the Allen Lake property, so pretty large, sprawling frontage today. So the project is proposing to limit that to 50-foot apron and pushes it further north from Nickerson Road in order to maintain that 200-foot offset. So again, consistent with our modern design practice and what's done by the policy manual. The last driveway for the project limits is the Anderson parcel. Same sort of thing. Years of snow plowing operations have contributed to a sprawling gravel frontage along the roadway. So we work with that property owner to talk about consolidating a single point of access closest to their to their house that reflects the use space of their property, but trying to find other ways to keep it whole as we propose those improvements. Jason mentioned that we've already had some conversations with the utilities on the corridor. The right side of the road, at the bottom of the page here, does see 8 different utility poles in our project limits. Utilities in the state of New Hampshire operate within the state right-of-way through agreement. As we widen that roadway, their distance to the proposed edge of pavement starts to shrink. And so we would ask that they move their utility poles further out while otherwise staying within the state right-of-way as part of the project work. So we're not anticipating any major concerns there, but where the poles sit today, we'll probably see them jump further back, but otherwise staying within the state right-of-way. Drainage, I mentioned it very briefly earlier. We have a 36-inch crossing and 15-inch crossing under New 16 out there today. As part of the project work, where hopefully the structures are concrete pipe and been there for just about 100 years. Which roads were constructed in 1939. This is an appropriate time to replace that infrastructure. So proposing a new 36-inch crossing that's more in line with the line of that unnamed stream that feeds the corridor to the south. And the 15-inch pipe sits dry a lot of the time. It's in pretty good condition. So proposing is to extend that with respect to the nominal slope plan that the project is proposing as we break that turn lane. To do all of this work, there will be some impacts to the traffic public. Jason mentioned that out there today is about 9,100 average annual daily traffic. So it's not saying that the busiest times of year there's only 9,100 cars out there. I expect during the summer months and maybe during foliage season, you see larger volumes of traffic. We're trying to build a road for the average condition or what you experience for a good majority of the year. So knowing that those traffic volumes are pretty high, and with a lot of lessons learned further south along the NH16 corridor, traffic control, while we do these reconstruction style projects, we are confident in moving forward with being able to maintain 2 lanes of traffic for most of the construction operations. So we'll be able to shift traffic around on the existing footprint while we widen the road to one side, move them over to the widened portion, and then widen the other side. So it shouldn't be a large detriment to the community, especially if we drive through here every day, waiting in one lane, alternating 2-way traffic patterns. It would add a lot to the summer construction. Not something that we'd like to see happen here, but it will be certainly required, mainly the crossing of this 36-inch pipe. As we trench out the road in order to place one half at a time, that probably will require short-term, 1 lane, also maybe 2 week traffic patterns. But I would say it's a very isolated, broader project, so we're going to continue to only take 2 lanes of traffic. I'm sure I haven't missed anything, but I was hoping to touch on. Obviously, there'll be opportunity for questions later on, so if you feel that I have not addressed something, anyone can ask. That's why we're here. We're happy to do our best to respond. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Hans. As part of our evaluation of any project, the department must consider and document the environmental impacts of our proposed actions. At this time, Melly Doobie from the New Hampshire Department of Transportation's Bureau of Environment will provide a summary of the environmental process and the requirements of the project's impacts.
Thanks, Jason. Good evening, members of the commission, ladies and gentlemen. As Jason said, my name is Melly Doobie. I'm a senior environmental manager at New Hampshire DOT. So I've been reviewing this project for the several years we've been working on it in various forms up till now. So pursuant to the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, the New Hampshire Department of Transportation has evaluated alternatives to the proposed project and potential impacts this project will have on the surrounding social, economic, and natural environments. Coordination was established and input received from federal and state agencies, including the Federal Highway Administration, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, U.S. Department of Agriculture, New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, New Hampshire Division of Historical Resources, New Hampshire Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, New Hampshire Department of Fish and Game, and the New Hampshire Natural Heritage Bureau. In addition, input was received from town officials as well as concerned citizens. The Albany 45056 project was developed through planning and design efforts, including a corridor study, crash data analysis, safety evaluation, environmental review, alternatives analysis, and public involvement along New Hampshire Route 16 corridor in the town of Albany. This project has independent utility, which means that the proposed improvements at the Nickerson Road intersection are considered necessary and will provide public benefit independent of any other project. The department and the Federal Highway Administration, as the lead federal agency, are in the process of gathering data and assessing potential impacts to prepare an environmental document in accordance with the NEPA requirements. A draft programmatic categorical exclusion document has been completed and posted to the project's website. There is a link in the presentation and also a QR code if you'd like to access it. And I did also print a copy that I have available tonight if somebody would like to look at that as well. The final document will be made available for review when it is approved after this hearing and after the commission has considered all questions and comments. The following is a summary of some of the information that will be contained in the final document. The proposed project is expected to impact wetlands under the jurisdiction of the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Wetlands Bureau and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, including permanent impacts to pedestrian wetlands and an unnamed stream. That's due to the drainage work that Hans was describing for those two crossings. The department will continue to coordinate with the appropriate agencies and ensure that wetland and surface water impacts are minimized, appropriate mitigation is provided if necessary, and all permits are secured prior to construction. Several areas of conserved land are located near the project area. Temporary construction and permanent drainage easements are proposed to a parcel encumbered with a conservation easement owned by the Chicorowa Lake Conservancy, though these are not anticipated to alter the function of that property. No other impacts to private or publicly owned conservation lands are proposed, including the White Mountain National Forest. As Hans discussed, to protect water quality during construction, the contractor will be required to prepare a stormwater pollution prevention plan prior to the start of earth-disturbing activities and will be required to install and maintain best management practices during construction. The proposed action will result in an increase in impervious surface area, which will require installation of permanent treatment for additional stormwater runoff in the project area, and that's that permanent treatment swale to the south that was shown on the plans. An endangered species review was completed and determined that there are no impacts to state or federally protected species as a result of the proposed work. Finally, the project area contains invasive plants included on the New Hampshire list of prohibited invasive species. As such, the contractor shall be required to implement appropriate best management practices during construction to prevent the spread of these invasive plants congruent with department standards. Pursuant to Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act, the department, in coordination with the New Hampshire Division of Historic Resources and the Federal Highway Administration, must consider the impacts of the project on historic resources. The project area has been evaluated and reviewed for historic properties and areas of archaeological sensitivity. 4 archaeological sensitive areas were identified during our initial investigations. Field investigations were then completed and determined that there are no archaeological sites in the project area. An architectural survey was also completed and determined that there are no historic structures located in the project area. Stone walls throughout the project have also been inventoried, and none were determined to be eligible for reconstruction as historic walls. As such, the project will have no effect on historic properties in accordance with Appendix B of the Section 106 Programmatic Agreement. If there are any additional natural, cultural, or socioeconomic resource concerns associated with this project, please feel free to bring them to our attention tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Melly. This project will involve property easements or the right for NHDOT to construct and maintain the proposed improvements. Eric Sargent, Administrator for the Bureau of Right-of-Way, will describe the process of acquiring the necessary easements for the project.
Thank you, Jason. Members of the Commission, ladies and gentlemen, before I go into the right-of-way procedures for the project, I would like to mention that we have with us tonight copies of a booklet entitled Public Projects in Your Property, which describes the right-of-way acquisition and relocation assistance procedures that are utilized by the state. This booklet is especially useful for those properties impacted by this proposed project, and they are available from department staff. If, after reviewing the information and testimony presented at this hearing, the Commission finds the necessity for the proposed layout, several things will happen. First, with approval to proceed in the design of this project, the department will be preparing appraisals for each of the properties impacted by the proposed, the department will be preparing appraisals for each of the properties impacted by the proposed construction you see on the plans. A staff appraiser from the department or a fee appraiser hired from private industry will contact each owner to appraise their property. The appraisals will reflect the fair market value of the property rights needed to complete the construction. Prior to starting negotiations, the appraisals are reviewed separately to see that all appraisals are accurate and have taken into account.
Sorry, we're not able to hear you. It was hard to hear the gentleman up here too, but he was talking more in our direction. It's just
Okay.
really hard to hear.
You have to use your big voice, because these microphones,
Microphones, right?
we don't have a speaker system, so we're gonna have to,
So those microphones are all fake?
these are for the camera, and they look good, too.
Okay, I'll back up here, I apologize. If after reviewing the information and testimony presented at the hearing, the Commission finds the necessity of the proposed layout, several things will happen. First, with approval to proceed with the design of this project, the department will be preparing appraisals for each of the properties impacted by the proposed construction you see on the plans. A staff appraiser from the department or a fee appraiser hired from the private industry will contact each owner to appraise their property. The appraisals will reflect the fair market value of the property needed to complete the construction. Prior to starting negotiations, the appraisers are reviewed separately to see that all appraisals are accurate and have taken into account all applicable approaches to value. The value in the reviewed and finalized appraisal will be the offer of compensation used by the department as a basis for negotiations. A right-of-way agent from the department will visit each property owner and discuss each acquisition separately. This is an opportunity for the owners to ask questions and bring up concerns. If the property owner accepts the offer, conveyance documents are prepared, ownership is transferred to the state, and compensation is provided to the property owner. If negotiations between the owner and the department fail, the matter will be filed with the New Hampshire Board of Tax and Land Appeals, where the owner will have an opportunity to argue for additional compensation. Please understand that this can be done with or without an attorney. After the board issues its ruling on just compensation, Either party can appeal the board's decision to the Superior Court if they are unsatisfied. That's all I have, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Again, we will be available to answer questions to the commission once we conclude the presentation. We will also be available immediately after the public hearing and hopefully the finding of necessity if folks have specific questions on any of the subject matter that we spoke to tonight. So we're about to conclude. So commission members, ladies and gentlemen, funding for this project is supported by Federal Highway, managed under NHDOT's Highway Safety Improvement Program. The Highway Safety Improvement Program is a federal aid program with the purpose of achieving a significant reduction in traffic fatalities and serious injuries on all public roadways. New Hampshire's allocation is approximately $9 million each year and includes engineering, right-of-way acquisitions, and construction for standalone projects, as well as systematic projects like rumble strip and guardrail projects. More commonly, the program is used to perform road safety audits by the state and municipalities to review safety concerns and develop new projects. The project budget is approximately $1 million, which is comprised of engineering to support the design, this public hearing, permitting, and preparation of contract plans and documents to advertise the project for a contractor to bid on. The project is funded with federal funds, and the required state match is accomplished utilizing turnpike toll credits. There are no required funds from the town or other sources. It is important to note the project is currently programmed for construction in 2030. Although tonight may seem early to present the project, completing the public hearing and receiving federal approvals is a significant step. With federal approvals, the project could be expedited if HSIP or Highway Safety Improvement Program funding becomes available. Looking ahead, if there is support for our proposal and the committee finds in favor of the layout, Melly's team will secure NEPA approval. These approvals will allow the department to move forward with projects right-of-way plans, utility relocation plans, complete final design, and apply for a wetland permit. The right-of-way plans will allow Bureau of Right-of-Way to meet with affected property owners and begin the appraisal process Eric spoke of. Then Hans's team can finish the construction plans and contract documents necessary for contractors to bid. This will allow for contracts to be prepared and submitted to Governor and Council requesting approval to begin construction in spring of 2030, or 2030, sorry. The goal of our team's presentation is to clearly articulate the project's need, layout, and potential effect on the environment and the community. The proposed improvements address the safety deficiencies at the intersection of New Hampshire 16 and Nickerson Road. Project information, including project plans, this presentation, and the draft environmental document can be found on the project's website. A transcript, including the testimony, will be made available on the website once it's prepared. Finally, we are prepared to answer questions, provide responses to requests, and make recommendations on how those requests and issues can or cannot be addressed. Our purpose is to share our rationale, communicate the process, and provide clarity and reassurance, allowing the Commission to convene the finding of necessity tonight and find in favor of the necessity for the layout of this project. Mr. Chair, this concludes the Department's formal presentation for the New Hampshire 16 and Nickerson Road intersection improvements in the town of Albany. I would like to thank all of you for your attentiveness, as well as thank the town of Albany for their hospitality and support of this public hearing. At this time, I respectfully ask this commission to find in favor of the necessity for the layout of the project as presented here this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason, and all the other presenters for what you've shown us tonight. I will open the hearing now for testimony. Before we begin hearing any comments or concerns or questions from the public, are there any elected officials who want to be heard with us this evening? Please state your name and position, and I see that Senator McConkey is here, and I recognize him.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of DOT officials. Mark McConkey, Senate District 3. It's my hope, once we hear concerns of the butters, that the project will be asked to be moved forward. Starting much further south, but in my terms from Wakefield, we need to get this road safe and moving forward. There's many other projects here. I'm tickled to death that you're enlarging some of the right-of-way to 5 foot from 4 foot.
Many of us have been in this Route 16 corridor study for 30-plus years. I've always recognized that 6 is preferable, but monies aren't there for us, so 5 foot, I'm very happy with that. I'm eager to hear that the Conservancy, who has a large footprint on the side, will be happy with what we're looking at here. Because I think it's so important when we're working through wetlands and we're all working together. So with that, I pledge my support for the project.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Are there any other public officials who would wish to speak? Yes, sir. Would you state your name and position?
I just have a couple of questions. My name is Chris McAleer from Jackson, and I represent the Carroll County District 2. And I just wonder why this project is being put off to 2030. Maybe I missed something there, but wouldn't it be more appropriate to start the project a little bit earlier? Is that possible?
So I can address that. Great question. A lot of it has to do with the funding and the number of projects that are in the Highway Safety Improvement Program. We did request this project of that committee last year. So we're sort of in the back of the line of the current projects. Certainly having this hearing tonight, as well as the ability to complete most of the design next year, will allow us to be in great position if money becomes available. But strictly, sir, it's based on the 10-year plan, the funding allocations associated with the Highway Safety Improvement Program, and where we are with the overall 10-year plan program.
Just another quick question. Just 2 or 3 years ago, I was here for a presentation, and this appears very much scaled back from the original presentation. Am I correct there?
Another great question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I want to make sure that I address the commission. We have 2 projects in the corridor. So the first project, the Albany-Madison 29597, was a much larger study. We don't have funding for all of the improvements that are needed on New Hampshire 16 between the Tamworth Town Line and the Conway Town Line. We came to some resolution with the community that the section for Albany-Madison, which begins at Pine Knoll Road and continues about 3.2 miles north, crossing the Madison, would be the priority for the funding that was originally allocated for the Albany 29597. Following that meeting, we renamed the project because it now crosses into Madison. We were able to find additional funding through other sources to increase the size of that project. In addition to that, this project, the Albany 45056, was created because there was a lot of benefit for the left turn lane. So now we have 2 projects. Overall, we don't have the $30 to $40 million that's needed for the overall corridor, but we've came to some agreement and we're able to proceed with these 2 projects at this time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Are there any other public officials who wish to speak? Okay, if not, I will open it up to anybody else that wishes to speak. When I call your name, please stand up, state your name and address for the record, and make your statements. The first person I recognize is Melissa DeShero, is it?
Yes. Melissa DeShero, 2521 New Hampshire Route 16. I would just like to address the removal of trees is pretty much between us and the road. We have young children on our property, and I consider those trees our barrier between cars coming through our dining room window when we eat our dinner. It scares me. It's a fast road. We are right at the passing zone, which I do understand is going to be removed. But it's scary. It's a 50-mile-an-hour road, and we have young children. So that part scares me. I understand that it sounds like our trees are not going to be removed. It sounds like maybe you work to remove that problem for the most part.
I'd like Hans Weber to respond to that question and explain the project impacts.
But I wanted it on the record that I really want to keep our trees.
Yeah, no, appreciate that comment, and Melissa's right, we did have a chance to catch up before the meeting to talk about this issue. We also talked about it at a public meeting a few weeks ago, where you originally expressed this concern. So we took another look at the slopes that are proposed in front of your parcel there, and it seemed by steepening the slopes, we could pull in our impacts and reduce the impacts to those trees. So the one thing we did talk about is that to the limits of the right-of-way line, for those utility relocations, there's a chance that some tree limbs will probably need to be scaled back, but I'd say the bulk of that tree frontage will not need to be impacted as part of the project work. Something that was also mentioned a moment ago that I should have mentioned as part of the presentation is the removal of the passing zone. So out there today, as you come around the corner from the Habitat for Humanity properties further to the north, you enter this long, straight tangent section of roadway, and there's a passing zone there that you understand people take advantage of. So with the changes to the layout here, with the new left turn lane, you would see the removal of the passing lane through the Nickerson Road limits. That is another change that is proposed as part of the project.
The other cause for concern we have is that we have this wonderful U-shaped driveway that we are apparently thinking of losing. We have utility trucks that back down the right side of our driveway to deliver our fuel. I have a camper that we utilize that U-shape for. There's a terrible driver when it comes to backing up the camper and utilize the full extent of that driveway to do so. So we're really not thrilled at the thought of losing that U-shape. It was very appealing when we bought the property. And that grandfathered in concept was exciting to us, and I realized that now it's a whole new thing that you're doing. And you might lose that. So I wanted to get those two concerns voiced.
Thank you. I know Hans's team is working to address the tree trimming and the clearing that we originally showed 4 weeks ago. As Hans explained, the U-shaped of the northerly drive is in conflict with the intersection turning movements for Nickerson and New Hampshire 16. It's not a safe condition now with all of the traffic in the driveways combined. And so we would like to address it. I would say that we would love to work with you to understand like how best to come up with any additional improvements that we can for your driveway. But I do want to echo that it's not a safe condition now. And you know, our folks from the Bureau right away who would be working directly with you at that time, you know, are hearing your concerns, and design is here to hear your concerns. So we certainly can make improvements. If you have better ideas, we would be willing to listen.
I'll keep that. I'll keep thinking.
Thank you very much.
Circle around our house. Thank you.
Kathy Finney, is it?
Yes.
Would you repeat your name and your address, please?
Kathy Finney, live in Bear Drive in Albany. I live in the Piper Meadows where Nickerson was voted in, I don't know, over 10 years ago, to go through village property, so you know, he didn't want it either. And about half of the people who lived there at the time that voted for it now don't live there anymore. It's a very transient community, so like a vote that recently will have been done by residents who are only here temporarily. I've been here for 23 years, less than a lot of the originals. I'm very familiar with our roads because I was a school bus driver for 15 years. I was aware of everything on that road. One of the things I'm aware of are several of them, and funny because before I got here, I read my letter to my daughter to make sure that it was under like 3 minutes. It turned out to be 9, so I'm very passionate about this because one of the obvious things you're talking about, having done a recent study about the safety of that stretch, when you're coming southbound to take a left into Nickerson, there is enough room for anybody to go by you, even without going onto the dirt, if somebody lines up just right. And we don't have to line up just right. The law is you stop. So, you know, widening the road isn't going to stop somebody from being distracted or deciding that their driving skills are superior to everybody else's on the road, you know. But the Nickerson Road sign is obscured southbound, from the pendant shaped no passing zone sign, which if you take out the no passing zone, that's either the second or the third one that's been removed. And I haven't found speeding to be the problem on our road. I found mostly people who don't know what the speed limit is, and so they drive 35, 40, 45. You know, those are the people being super careful. You know, even the bus drivers, real careful, not me. I did the speed limit exactly where I was. And when it turned to 25 up on Wallville, I did 25. And on Drake Hill Road. But people get, there's one sign coming north at 50 miles an hour, and then there isn't another sign until you get past back into Madison, right by the White Mountain Stove Shop. This has been this way for the two speed limit signs since I've lived here. So northbound is one until it turns 40 before you come up over the hill by the storage place and the Albany Auto on the right. And there are two going south. One that's obscured, you cannot see it because the backdrop is too busy for the first 50-mile-an-hour sign just before you get to the double lanes to come south and past what would probably be a Coleman's dump truck or something, which I drove for a little while. And, you know, that made sense because that was where the construction vehicles are coming out and stuff like that. Everybody uses it. I don't wait for the dotted line, because as I'm going, I know these people in front of me have no idea, and I'm going by them. And I don't care if it takes me 60 miles an hour. I'm not doing 35 behind a car. It makes me insane. When I was in the school bus, different story. And then the second 50-mile-an-hour sign is just before the passing zone where you turn left or right to get in, and again, you're obscured. The sign is obscured. The backdrop of the pendant coming north, you can't even see and there's a telephone pole right there. You can't even see the Nickerson sign, and coming south, it's completely obscured on the left because of the pendant sign. So that's been like that for 10 years. That's been stupid for 10 years. It should have shown up in some way. But interestingly, while I was a school bus driver, I had the occasion to reach out to DOT to put in some school bus stop signs. And instead of putting in some more, they took out the original ones. There were none for a while. And I got on the phone, and I made a big stink. And so they finally came out and put up maybe 3 new ones. And it took 3 vehicles and 6 employees to come out and put in a post. A couple of weeks or maybe a month or more later, they came out and they put the sign itself up there. Then they came back another month or 2 later and they put up the little stickers, the little red stickers on the school bus stop sign. Then they came in. It took them almost a year. I won't even say that. I'm going to say it easily took a full 6 months for them to finally finish putting up these signs after having removed the other ones, as if the students don't live there anymore. When Nickerson was voted in, Jack couldn't even vote. And I've never seen him down in there anyways, because people go in there, they come in and out, in and out, in and out. And that vote was by 1 vote, a single vote that was voted in. I don't think speed is the problem. It's easily distracted driving. People on the road, including the sheriff, the Conway cops, the school bus drivers, the dump truck drivers, and the 18-wheeler drivers are on their phones. And all of us have sat at a stop sign where the person ahead of you gets distracted and they forget to go. I don't give them a half a second, I'm beeping the horn, you gotta get going. So the safety factor comes where people get down to that one passing zone and have a chance to pass. Because they've been following this idiot, like everybody here might remember, God rest her soul, the lady who drove the car with the license plate, Russer. She always had a mile of traffic behind her, always. So, coming out of Nickerson, you want to take a right-hand turn. People forget about driver's ed. They forget about what you're supposed to do to look in the path of travel, then look into the oncoming, then do it again. And I made the mistake one time, and a car is passing in the passing zone. If I had taken that right-hand turn, which I did, and got right over to Bill Lake's place, I avoided it head on because of my stupidity. It never happened again. But the problem is, if it never happens to you, you keep doing it and make it a habit until you finally take that right and somebody is passing. There's a lot of ways, I believe, that any of this money could be much more well spent, like the idea of, let me just say about eminent domain makes me stutter. There was a house from a gentleman who lived at the intersection of 302 and 113 going into Freiburg or left into Redstone, right there on the right-hand side. An elderly gentleman was forced out of his house by eminent domain for the bypass that wasn't built. And they bought that house at that time, 20-ish years ago, for what, $40,000? And now they're selling it. Can you imagine what they're getting for it? It could be $400,000. So I don't know who gets that profit, but the idea of anybody having a single inch of their property taken, it infuriates me, because we all know how to drive.
Kathy, can you please confine yourself specifically to the Nickerson Road and not talking about other properties?
Nickerson Road where I live, where me and about 120 other people live, not 120 homes. But because I have had the experience all over, and just so the people who are here understand, that the last meeting that wasn't put out there on the marquee for us to know about, and only in the newspaper, the same as today. There were a lot more people at the last meeting, but I don't believe there's anything on the marquee about it. And the idea that this represents Albany, unfortunately, this can be the case because people don't get involved, maybe because they're really transient. Or maybe they don't care, or maybe they don't know. But that stretch has enough room for a left-hand turn lane, I believe, in my professional opinion, because it's already been widened. But what I would beg for is that once it's done, please find people to actually paint the yellow line down it and the white line down it, because the last time it was paved, it took 4 months, if not 6 months, to get the lines painted. And it was pitch black in the nighttime. And so who cares about what? You know what I mean? Like, and somebody wants to spend, so this particular project is only for one part of it. The whole project, once we get going, goes all the way down to Wildwood. And there are people who live on that high side on the left, never mind up here at the Nickerson. One last thing, that's where the water filtration or the water conserving, the waterways conservation. Because I've worked on a construction crew, and because I drove a school bus watching people who constructed things, people think nothing of taking their cigarettes out and just putting them up. These are the people working on the road. And the people who, and just allow me 1 second, the new bridge over by in Conway going over the Saco River, I sat at every day in traffic and watched those people flicking their cigarettes into the water, into the Saco River. They don't live here. So I always lives here, and Coleman should get this job because they built Albany. They employ so many people around here. They deserve it, they earn it, and it's easier. But there are other things about that I would like to discuss off of the record that would make it a much more to the point exact replication of billable hours and billable materials that ultimately we end up paying for. Thank you.
Next, I recognize Deborah, is it Marmich?
Yes.
If you would state your name and your address, please.
Yes. Good evening, I'm Deborah Marnich. I am the Stewardship Director with Shakora Lake Conservancy. And we wanted to thank you for the presentation and working with us. We've been in touch with several of you along the way in the project. We do have some concerns, seeing that we're taking the front of the drainage here on this project. The swell is concerning us. We'd be interested in knowing the size of that and or what the maintenance plans were for that in the future. And we're since they're all along the corridor, soil disturbance that would be happening there, especially with the swale, how that would be taken care of as well. There's a new pipe going in, probably going to be a lot longer. These are mostly engineering questions as well, just trying to navigate the plan. It's probably going to be a lot longer. Are there plans for plunge pools at the end of it? Is there a way to take care of velocity of water now going through a much longer pipe? Also concerned about the square footage of permanent impact on wetlands. We'd like to know that as well. And one of our last concerns is equipment storage and clean out. And often, we used to work with DOT in Maine, and often properties that are empty or have no housing on are used for equipment storage and also clean out. So that would be one of our concerns on this project as well.
Well, I think we could probably start with Melly, that could answer a number of those questions, and then we could pass it to Hans, who could work on the technical, and if there's anything that isn't covered, happy to address.
Yes. So thank you for your concerns and for coming tonight. I appreciate it. So I am going to defer the exact sizing of the swale to Hans. So we'll return to that. Speaking to, I apologize if I would jump around, and please remind me if I leave off any of your notes. Regarding the invasive species, so we did have invasive species in the project area delineated when we had the wetlands delineated. We did identify Oriental bittersweet. We did not identify any others that we are going to impact in this specific project footprint. If they do come up between now and then, they will be obviously incorporated. As it stands now, we do anticipate impacting those populations of Oriental bittersweet, so we will require the contractor to include an invasive species management plan. They will be required to create that plan, submit it to us for approval, and then implementation during construction. So we do not allow transport of invasive species into or out of our construction areas. And so we will follow whatever guidelines are necessary for type 1 or type 2 invasive species in the project area. They'll be removed during the appropriate time of year, buried, etc., according to guidance from the Department of Environmental Services for how to appropriately handle those. So that, absolutely understand the concern. We do not want to be spreading invasive species. We're fully aware that they do exist, and we have mechanisms in place to protect the spread of those those invasive species. Does that answer your question?
It does.
About,
also kind of concerned about the fill that's coming in,
Mm-hmm.
especially in that swale. Often at times there's fill that comes to the side of the road. There's a lot of soil disturbance, and it makes a perfect area for invasive species to take over.
Yeah, absolutely. I do understand that concern as well, because anytime you are disturbing soil, as you said, a lot of those invasive plants are very opportunistic and they want to grow. We do, in addition to that invasive species management plan that we'll have, it does include provisions for preventing like transport in. We do ensure that any contractor that we are working with inspects their stockpiles. So there should not be transport of invasive species in. If there are, I have worked on projects before where we have discovered them growing after the fact. I think actually only once from me, and we did remediation afterwards. So it is something that we do take very seriously, and we do track it and monitor it. So we will have our environmental coordinator. We do have designated staff who are aware of all the environmental components of the project, and they tour regularly. They try to get out to each project at least once a week. So they'll be keeping an eye on all of those freshly filled areas to make sure that there's nothing emerging as well. Does that address the invasive species?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Regarding the swale, as I said, I'm going to defer to Hans for the actual sizing, because that is more of an engineering issue. Maintenance, that's why we'll be having, so it will be a very shallow, essentially kind of grassy ditch. Obviously with the intention of capturing that water, that we're adjusting the crown of the road so that we can capture most of that water into that ditch line on the northern side of the road, and then it will flow down into the swale, and then the swale is designed to hold back that water for a long enough period of time that all of the sediments, or as many sediments as we can, achieve drop out, and that water is treated before going into that stream. So we really view this as an improved condition from the current condition, because as it stands now, the water is sheet flowing. And while it is receiving some filtration naturally, not as much as it will be receiving by going through this formalized structure. So we are hoping that we'll capture more water, treat it before releasing it back into the environment. Regarding the maintenance, I believe the intention of having the easement for that swale is that our folks can go in and mow it, because it doesn't function if it's not maintained, and so we do have to keep it mowed.
Right, and what would you be seeding it with?
What would we be seeding it with, Hans?
So my understanding of standard department practice is we don't change it from our
Yeah.
typical seed application. So that is a mixture of native species. I don't know all the percentages or specific.
Roadside mix.
Roadside mix, yeah.
Okay.
The size, would you want to touch on the size right now?
Yeah.
How that-
Yeah, so this is going a little bit off of memory. It's been a while since I looked at the specifics, but it's about 200 feet in length. It is a trapezoidal swale, so it has a flat ditch bottom about 3 feet in length. So the V ditch that conveys the water at 2.5% grade north to south flattens out to that 0.5% grade approximately, flattens it out so it slows the speed. It's designed so that for the 10-year design storm with that 3-foot bottom and 3 to 1 side slopes, it will maintain 1 foot of freeboard. So even for larger storm events, the goal is that it will not overtop and start to spill over the sides. It should maintain and convey it, although some of the treatment efficacy starts to fail during those larger wave events. But at that point, we're just trying to make sure our roadway doesn't wash away.
Sure, and I just want to confirm, it's not outletting straight into the river.
Right now, that is the direction. It outlets towards the stream. It will, I think the treatment length ends about 10 or 15 feet short of where our slope limits are. So there's a stone pad that we would typically have at the very limits of that in order to slow down velocities and make sure that it just kind of trickles out. It's kind of a level spreader, if you're familiar with that term, in order to make sure that the thing, it's not just like a direct discharge into the road.
Yeah, so our concern would be nutrient loading into the river, obviously. So, I mean, maybe something to consider we can work on is maybe a filter strip before investing further, if that's a consideration.
Sure, and we can absolutely continue to work with you in final design. We can pull in our water quality program manager, Mark Hemmerline, and, we'll be working in accordance with Alteration of Terrain Bureau guidelines for designing these swales and nutrient loading, and, ensure, the goal is obviously to ensure that we are not making the condition worse. The goal is to improve it. So we can absolutely continue to work with you to make sure that we're all comfortable. I had one other thought about the swale. Oh, I wanted to also to mention, I did mention briefly that we'll be requiring a stormwater pollution prevention plan during construction. So that, similar to the invasive species plan, that will be a required submittal from the contractor to the department for approval prior to the start of construction. Those best management practices such as silt sock, silt fence, etc., those will all be put in place prior to any major earth disturbing activities, and then maintained and inspected throughout the duration of construction. And those, so obviously the goal is to keep any sedimentation or contamination out of the waterways, both for the impacts working on the drainage in the water itself, and then also the roadside wetlands.
So you had a comment or a question about the 36-inch pipe crossing. So that sits very low, very flat today, and partially inundated with water. So when your concern was velocities and the plunge pool at the outlet, it doesn't have that today, and the goal would be just to tie from channel inlet to outlet, simulating, I guess, the natural stream channel grade. So as far as, I guess, other elements to slow down those velocities, if there was concern of that, our slope and drain stage, which is the first stage of final design, will do a more in-depth hydraulic analysis, and we'll make sure that it's not, I guess, adversely affecting the flows as they exist today. You're right, it is getting longer in order to cross that diagonal span, but it really is a very flat pipe.
I had one thought as well about the drainage work, and we have not gotten to the permitting phase yet, but we will. And when that time happens, there will be a very comprehensive reviews from regulatory agencies regarding, the design of that pipe, and the BMPs installed during construction. So there will be an opportunity to look at those specific features in the future.
Okay. And the last question was, do you know yet the permanent impact of the wetlands?
Oh, great question.
Square footage of that?
Yes, we have an estimate, I think. We were estimating approximately 4,500 square feet of permanent impact to pedestrian wetlands and 700 square feet of permanent impact to the perennial stream. That's about 300 linear feet.
These are estimates at this time.
Estimates.
This is we're at preliminary design, and the next stage, as Hans said, is when we have more refined slope impacts. And we certainly can take into consideration the filter strips, plunge pools, velocity dissipators, whatever we need to at each, and identify that. As someone with interest in the property, I would assume that we can certainly coordinate the impacts that we have and what we would be presenting to DES prior to our actual submission to DES, Department of Environmental Services, sorry. We can commit to that as well.
Certainly, yeah.
And I think the last question that you had was about equipment clean out and what we refer to as mobilization areas. Typically, we do have commitments within our wetlands application and potentially the NEPA document. I apologize for not knowing, but at this point, anything that we have permanent control of within the project limit would be our state right-of-way, as well as the proposed drainage easements would be available to the contractor if they choose to. The contractor could also negotiate with abutters in order to provide that. And then there certainly would be requirements, adjacent to wetlands, temporary fencing, and other commitments that we might have within our wetland permit conditions. So at this time, we don't have them yet, but it's very typical of our projects that we would have those commitments, and we'd be able to accommodate that within construction.
Okay. And if we could have a notification if something like that happens on our property, that'd be great. I guess, we have a lot of public commentary, a lot of people drive by, and, they want to know what's going on. And probably communication is the best way to kind of negotiate that.
Absolutely. We can absolutely continue to coordinate into final design for work on the wetland application, the stormwater BMP. And there are a lot of meeting opportunities between now and then for you to attend, provide that feedback along with the rest of the regulatory and advisory agencies.
Okay.
So we can absolutely commit to that.
Super. Thank you so much.
Okay, the chair recognizes Susan Kelly. If you would restate your name and your address, please.
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Then the chair recognizes Jonathan Vaughn. If you would restate your name and your address, please.
Jonathan Vaughn, 2237 New Hampshire Route 16. I attended this meeting today to get some more information about the project, because it wasn't very clear what was actually going to be going on. I did get a few addresses in the mail. I do believe, based off of growing up at 2237, that the accidents that are caused are not caused by the road. They are caused by, from what I've seen growing up at the property, it's distracted driving, or impaired driving. I don't believe widening the road will change any of those two things. And I mean, I've lived there my whole life, and I'll hate the road to get wider on my property if I don't believe that this change is going to actually change the issue.
Happy to respond really briefly. I don't disagree that we recognize that there's an issue with driver behavior along the corridor. The types of crashes with rear end crashes and intersection turning crashes that have been documented, and again, those are the ones that are documented, not the near misses that we don't get to hear about, could be addressed with the left turn lane, and that allows a southbound driver to at least get out of the travel way and have time to negotiate oncoming traffic as well as allow traffic to bypass. So I'm not saying it's a perfect solution, but it does address the core crashes that we're concerned with at the intersection in the existing condition. So I do want to recognize, your concerns and your thoughts about what some of the true causes are, and I don't disagree with you. I think that we see a really common pattern on higher speed roadways, rural roadways within New Hampshire regarding distracted driving.
I mean, I've been that kid at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 5 a.m., what are all the blinky lights in front of the house, and, adventurous, go talk to the police officer, and how many times have they told me as a kid, don't drive impaired, trying to educate me on that. And I've just seen the incidents, and that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
I believe no one else has put in a request to speak. Commission members, Paul? Yeah. Kelly?
We have one more.
Oh.
I got advised. It had to do with the rumble strips. I think that the rumble strips on the yellow line were ingenious and should have been installed years ago. I think that the right line needs to be rumble strip too. It's the only way to get the attention of a distracted driver that they're driving off of the road. Because along that stretch right there, road conditions too, in terms of the water conservation, our roadways are heavily salted with a pre-spray and then a salt that turns to dust and glue on your car. Don't know, other than you need a special license to transport that stuff, that salt, what's happening with the other waterways. I know what it does to the grass and the road and the cars. But more signage for speed limit signs, maybe a friendly reminder of cancel your turn signal. They took that sign out on 302. But something that says headlights on while using your wipers, like the manual says. Because a lot of the times cars are the same exact color of the road. And it's hard to see them. And, at nighttime you're going to see the lights, but headlights, you can see the headlights before anything. And that's a huge safety feature that people can use to do their defensive driving. And forgive me about my passion and my animation. I feel very strongly about it. I'm glad that you were able to speak up a little louder because you touched on the eminent domain, and none of us could really hear what you were saying, but it was hugely important. That any bit of a person's livelihood, and I know that the person who is further down on the hill, not the stretch, but has put a lot of money into his house. I don't know what you're going to do there, but I know this is the beginning project. This is the start of it, and signage and rumble strips. And perhaps lowering the speed limit to 45 too, but if it was at 45 where the speed limit signs are now, nobody's gonna know, except for the one that's obvious. Excuse me, my mouth is getting dry, just a moment. I really respect you guys and the hard work that you do and the research and everything that you have to put into it, but as employees of the state, it's a project for you. Where we live, it's our livelihood, and it's already near impossible to get out onto 16 without waiting for tons of traffic on certain times. But you do it. You know, you just do it. And I don't think you can legislate or widen or make the roads better or straighter for it's gonna cost money, but I don't think it's gonna do anything. The left-hand turn lane is a good idea, just because that's 50 miles an hour, and people who aren't paying attention. But again, it's an awful lot of money and a huge inconvenience. One of the things that was said during the last meeting was that the telephone poles would be moved from their position back and then moved back in. That's a huge cost, and very time-consuming with all those utility trucks out there, and, you know, it depends on what time. You know, I mean, hopefully we wouldn't do like a West Side Road paving on July 4th. That happens, you know. Of course it should be July 4th, that you're holding up traffic. So, yeah, the waterways I don't think are going to be able to be salvaged because they are too close to the side of the road anyways. And the straightaway invites people who are prone to littering to litter, because now they have a straightaway and they can throw their things out. And there's proof of that. The double lanes down in Tamworth coming north and south, both sides of that road are covered in litter. And all the rest of it that winds, you gotta keep your eye on the road. And nobody's throwing, you know, it's not the same. So, I mean, we live here. And I'm concerned, I don't like it, and my formal vote is, it should not continue. It should be, we should take a baby Plan A with rumble strips from the machine, which can be done in a day, because it was done in a day down the yellow lines, and more appropriate and obvious signage for speed limits. Yeah, thank you. Jack, I second what Jack said.
Okay.
I would be happy to
Paul and
address
Kelly,
it.
do you have questions?
If you don't mind, I want to thank all my fellow Albanians for coming out tonight. Kelly Robitel, I'm a selectman here in Albany, and I live at 1799 Route 16. And I take my life in my hands and my family every day trying to turn in my driveway. I have a passion for this. I feel your pain. Passing lanes, for me, will get me out of their way. Because as you say, they're distracted, they're coming full bore, they're coming up on you. Now you can get out of their way and let them fly by. Let them do what they want. But now at least you have an escape route. Doesn't sound perfect, but now it gives me the opportunity to drive offensively rather than just sit there and wait. And I think we all sit there and wait. We're all tapping our brakes. We're all wondering what's coming up. Let us get out of the way. This passing lane is going to let us move over a little wider road. Where I am now, they're driving in the dirt to get around me. They do it for all of us. So a little wider road. It's not much wider. It's actually, they say we're still within our footprint. Give us some place to at least have a chance, a fighting chance to get out of their way. So that's why I am passionate about this. This is step one. I do appreciate you all considering it. I think New Hampshire DOT has done a fine job, the whole crew. And they'll listen, and they'll take into consideration anything you have to say, but I just want to thank you all. Thank you, Chairman.
Paul, you
Could
have-
I just want to say thank you to all of you who have come and given us your input. Everything you say that comes to us, to our attention, helps us to make a much more justifiable decision on that, taking into consideration everything that DOT has presented, environmental, and all of your personal concerns. So I want to say thank you to all of you coming here tonight.
I would echo Paul's comments. Thank you for all who wanted to raise questions. Thank you to those that just came and wanted more information, so they are better informed. That's really important, that we have an informed citizenry that is aware of what's going on. And thank you very much to the DOT for the lengthy steps they go through in this process to inform people and to develop good plans and to listen to input. So at this point, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
And I'll second it.
okay. Then formally, the meeting is adjourned at 7:27 PM. Thank you all.
Finding necessity, if you guys plan to do that tonight.
I think so.
Let everyone know.
Yeah.
Let them know.
Sounds great. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Set it up. Do you want to announce that?
Yes, please.
For all the people that are here, could I have your attention, please? I do have a classroom voice because I was a teacher. The commission here will be deciding tonight whether to approve the project. If you wish to wait and see, I don't think we're going to spend an hour or two debating the issues. I think we will come to a fairly quick decision, but if you wish to wait to find out what that decision is, you are welcome to. Thank you.
This is going to be the finding a necessity speech.
Bring up the stretch of the road,
Why? What do you mean?
because that's not this project.
No.
Where you are. I know what you're, I know, you found that need.
I have the same need,
Yes.
same need that the rest of the board.
Yes.
I drive by your Piper Meadows every day.
I think she has a lot of concerns. I think
Right.
she has a lot of good issues.
I see the whole road.
But the thing of it
I'm
is,
not
we're discussing this
saying,
project.
Right.
And the thing of it is, the way I
I'm
look
not
at
saying I'm born
what
in-
is best for the common.
No,
but
I
there
know.
is need.
There is need.
There is need.
There is
And you
need.
were
Having a safe turn lane
place
so people don't run into you.
get you over the center, let them, because they're still going
But the
straight.
common good is
So even
also
if they're
not
going to rear
just
end,
the
you
people
just
that live on
let
the
them keep going. They probably even just get it, you pulled
And
over.
it's the other communities
But
that
gives you a
are
place to
looking
sit.
and
Little bit-
the ability to get through.
It sounds like we're turning into a super highway.
Also, it helps traffic flow,
But we don't live in a little town where,
having the lane there, so.
Bypass me.
well, that's, no, that would have passed. We would have, that would have gone, they still travel
Oh, I know,
through
they're
here.
gonna come up by the, by that
I'm okay with it.
They're gonna come out at the double lane.
We're ready to
They're
be
gonna come across the lane.
convenient.
They weren't gonna, just waiting. It's gonna be passes. Bypass was coming out at,
Yeah, we're deciding whether or not we can move forward.
Yeah, we're supposed to pass.
I'm gonna stand up for this.
Fine.
Right now, it's done. What's that, complete approval that
people think they want the same money. There's money to start those somewhere. It's not like they're gonna say, oh, we'll save the money, you go back to the taxpayers. Let's take a,
Without having tried after 20
we'll still be taking,
because we're not living in the 23 years ago, or the 35 years ago when I moved here. It's just not the same. This isn't only for today, this is for 10 years from now and 20 years from now. It's only gonna get busier. We need to take action. We can't wait 20 years. We need to do it immediately up to it. It's gonna happen, whether it happens in our lifetime or our children's, but let's get it done. Anything safety, and the rumble strips, everyone fights them. I appreciate it. I think they're a good idea. The plan is to put them on the white lines too, once we can widen. At least that's the initial plan. Right now, they don't have them on the white lines because the road isn't wide enough. The paved road. So once they can widen out a little bit, maybe put those, they call them breakdown lanes.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
But that's all part of this. It's a moving, living thing right now. But this one, if we can get it on the books, put it on the shelf, it's sitting. We don't have to go through all of this again. We need it. Right now, I feel we need it, but we're gonna need even more 5, 6, 7 years ago. This is going down. We don't know what else is gonna happen down on that street. You're gonna have a tag going in. Somebody could cut a road in somewhere. We don't know. So we can get this project. I say take it and be happy.
You know what? It's, I don't know if it's split or what it is. And that clock is still starting at 8:45 after all
You know
these
what?
years.
We have an election in March.
Yeah, I believe it's similar to
Get
this.
on the
But
board.
it's this small.
The small things is, I'm gonna get rid of that marquee out there, because it's just a pain in the butt. Nobody wants to put anything on it, you put it on, it sits there for too long. We get complained when we put stuff on there, we get complained we leave it on there too long. I'm gonna talk to the selectmen, so let's just take a break.
Just want to make sure
It's
they,
okay.
we won't be taking testimony. I just want to make sure that it's in
Okay,
there.
we'll just leave it there. Okay?
Using it properly.
I don't see,
We have one town administrator who can't even reach it.
Oh, yeah, okay, right there, so yeah.
Do you wanna rebuild the whole sign? To put this age little thing where you slip?
Yeah, however, this is a continuation, this is not a continuation of public hearing. All right, I just wanted to make sure that was in there.
She can't reach it. She can't reach it. But if you fall down and twist your ankle, you're gonna own Albany. Then you'll have to take care of this yourself.
So what if I was hard up? If I was selectman or town administrator or something like that, then I would have to.
You would be doing it, you can do.
But don't our taxes pay for this?
Yeah, but the select will make the decision how it's used.
And so the clock doesn't matter in the located.
The clock, we just keep forgetting about, but we can't have you climbing up there. But if you wanna put a note, so we remember it at the next meeting, we'll go on here and do it. If I had a ladder, I'd do it right now. Yeah,
I'll help you get it.
I have a huge vote to take right now. I shouldn't have said I'd do it right now, man. That was a, yeah. But anyway,
Yeah,
I
no, I
think
appreciate
we're
you,
all,
Kelly. You know, I
we
do.
are
I'm
all on the
I
right.
just don't see that legislation in widening the roads, it's not going to fix the problem, I know it's not.
It will never fix the problem, but will it lessen
But
the
the
problem?
problem is about the accidents that happen.
But will it lessen the problem?
I don't think so,
Well,
not without the white
all I
lines.
can go is by the people that run the highways that see this every day, all throughout the state. What helps? What makes a difference? And they are the ones, it's their highway anyway. They're the ones that are telling us, this is what's gonna help.
So it doesn't, the road doesn't, but it's cared for by Coleman, so it's not all the roads, it's state road.
It's all state.
I
just was just reading over your shoulder. It's okay.
All the way to
They'll do
Canada.
what they want.
Okay.
We have courtesies, we have people that want to work with us, but in the end, they can do what's best for the masses.
The masses don't.
I didn't mean to say masses.
Thanks, Ron.
I didn't mean it that way.
They just, oh boy, they.
I gotta talk to these
They
guys.
don't leave, Kelly.
Thanks for your concern, though.
Have a great night.
You too.
okay,
Oh, sorry, gentlemen.
that's fine. Okay, the meeting of the commission for the Albany 4056 project is called order at,
Okay, can you say it loud enough so they can hear?
do they have to hear it?
Yes.
Okay, this meeting of the commission appointed for the Albany 4056 project is called to order at this...
for you.
Sorry, I was busy work there talking to us.
What?
I think they're just discussing the plans with some people.
Okay.
You all set, Jason?
Okay, the meeting of the commission appointed for the Albany 45056 project is called to order at 7:36 PM on Wednesday, November 19th, 2025. I am Ron Adams, chairperson of this commission appointed by the governor and executive council on October 1st, 2025. Kelly Robitel and Paul Robitaille are also members of the commission. The meeting is concerned with widening of the intersection of Route 16 and Nickerson Road in Albany to add a southbound lane, left turn lane beginning approximately 500 feet south and ending approximately 1,000 feet north of Nickerson Road. In addition to widening Route 16, the project will improve the Nickerson Road approach by reconstructing an existing culvert, as well as improving drainage and grading conditions throughout the limits. This is a public proceeding under RSA Chapter 91A and may be attended by any interested persons. However, this is not a continuation of the public hearing. Therefore, public testimony is not being taken. The purpose of this meeting is for the commission to discuss the projects, review the resolutions of issues, and determine if there is necessity for the layout as they are proposed. Does the commission have any questions or comments in regard to the project?
I don't.
I think everything that I've questioned or wondered about has been answered adequately. Thank you.
Okay.
I feel the same.
As chairperson of the commission, I ask for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the construction of the, sorry, I don't know the number,
45056.
45056 on NH Route 16 in Albany.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. With all members voting, voted in favor of the project and 0 are opposed. Let the record also show the commission voted in favor of the project, and should you have any questions or issues not discussed at this meeting, the commission recommends that you contact Jason Ayotte, project manager, or Eric Sargent from the Bureau of Right-of-Way upon adjourning of this meeting. Having voted on the issue at hand, this meeting is now adjourned at 7:39 PM, and thank you all.
This, just have you sign that top spot. This is just an official decision, so I'll have this printed. If you would like to keep those, you guys are more than welcome to keep the folders, but I understand if you don't want to leave here with any souvenirs.
No, that's all right, David. Use them for somebody else.
Oh, excuse me. Mr. Chairman, David Steele, comments.
Yeah.
I was just wondering which town you live
Which town? I live in Ossipee,
in. Awesome. Great.
and I have served on 3 commissions on Route 16 already.
Is there, just out of curiosity, is there, a requirement that you guys come from, Route 16 communities? I mean, you wouldn't want someone from Keene necessarily to sit on a commission like this.
No, typically what we do is we will ask the executive counselor if they have any recommendations for people to serve on commissions, and typically what we'll do is we'll work with the counselor to find who fits best on our commission.
I think they're all over. Commissioner Kenny would represent all of them, I believe.
Yeah, so Commissioner Kenny, he will select people from his district who he feels would be best to serve on.
And I think probably I was asked to serve simply because I've served on these other Route 16 commissions, having been familiar with the process, and certainly familiar with Route 16. Right.
It was just interesting, because I was expecting it to be, basically Albany.
Yeah.
No, it's probably, yeah.
And once again, I'm not sure for Counselor Kelly that he necessarily can drag up names.
No, I'm not disappointed. I think it's actually more interesting.
I could not want it. It's not like I'm partial. He pulled me out of a hat, kind of, because I'm familiar with the project. I could have been here to bash it. So it's not like he put a ringer in.
Right.
So, no, it's all pretty impartial.
No, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
We are expected to be impartial when we sit in these.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Ron's got much experience. I've got previous experience, and I think that's the idea, is that we understand highways and those type of things.
Yeah.
But we have to be completely impartial.
Right.
So you have either prior experience or
Familiarity.
Right.
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm glad I finally got to meet you.
Thank you guys again for giving us your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us your time tonight. We really do appreciate it.
Hey, it was a bucket of fun.
Do I need to fill out one of those?
Nope, you already have a vendor code from your past
Okay.
hearings, so this is just to establish vendor codes so we can make sure you
okay.
guys get paid.
I really enjoyed this stuff.
Your color came back since you got the printer figured out.
Yeah, no, it was a bit of a panic there, but you know.
Yeah, I'm glad you worked it
What is, what's a hearing without a little bit of,
Oh, yeah, a little drama. As long as it's not my drama, it can be your drama.
And we look forward to our next, I believe Albany Madison is up next, and you three we're going with the same commission. Still pending GNC approval, but I have a strong feeling, because Councilor Kenny is very confident in you three, so.
Good.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Well, we'll have some more fun.
Well, that one's a lot bigger than this one.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, you'll get some doozies in that one.
you think so? I think that'll be a tough one.
Well, the more landowners that are affected that have to give up land, and the question of value, sight and noise and all that, usually adds more complexity.
Right. Nobody wants to see our little back road
Right.
turned into a superhighway.
Right.
That's what they envision, and I don't follow.
It's never gonna happen. I mean, the political will is there, not there, the money is not there, and right now, the economic situation is not there. So the only thing that we can do is do projects like this to make it a little bit better and safer all the way around.
Absolutely.
And I try to get that to the people. I mean, I get misquoted sometimes.
It's not getting any better. It's only getting worse, the traffic.
You know, and she has some good points when it comes to driver behavior.
Right, we all know it,
Yeah.
but I'd rather be offensive and be able to get out of the way than just sit there and wait for your,
Sure.
have your trunk hit.
I go away from the lane, they're going past me.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have to.
I would have loved to see the legislature pass it. It'll never happen. But every time you renew your license, you have to take a defensive driving course. I don't know if it'll do any good, but
Probably not. It's defensive driving, yeah. These coming through here, it's offensive. They're going. Yeah, that's all it is.
Right here, what you got your hand on. People,
It all changed when that thing came out.
yeah,
oh boy,
yeah,
a whole society has.
that,
We have a formal letter to the state to lower the speed limit to, since they passed that new statute to 45. People say it's not gonna matter, well, you can't, people are gonna break the law, you can't stop it. But at least we're doing our due diligence. Because we're listening to
well,
everyone say
if it's
speed.
45, the reasonable people will be going maybe 50,
Yeah,
under 50.
now it's 50 and they're doing 60.
50, right,
So that's my thought process.
you know, that,
I don't know what else we can do.
I mean, the real speeders, it doesn't, whatever you make the speed limit, it doesn't matter because they're gonna speed.
Right.
It's the more conscientious people that generally lower the whole speed on the road. And if you wipe out the passing lanes, then they aren't necessarily gonna be able to speed as much.
Yeah, well, they're talking, and I've talked to Jason a lot, that they're gonna put a lot of calming, whatever calming mechanisms they have, you know, the way they put signs strategically, whatever they do. But passing lanes, I think they're gonna slow people down, because it's just gonna get more confusing. You drive along, all of a sudden you see different lanes, they're gonna, hopefully think, they gotta slow down a little bit here.
Yeah, you need more passing lanes where it's.
Yeah, where there's no, lines on the road, where they're gonna think, well, so what's going on here?
Yeah.
So, more attention.
It also helps traffic having a turning.
Yes,
You
it does.
don't back up all the traffic.
Yeah, not that they back up, but they,
Well,
the ones that do stop,
yeah,
it's either gonna be great or I'm gonna have to leave town.
each little bit helps.
No, it does.
It's not gonna solve the world's problem.
Well, when it takes 3.5 years to do, we'll see how many people, people are patient. It's a long project.
Well, the conditions are gonna be worse in 3.5 years.
I worked 10 years to try to get a project from Gorham on the 10-year plan, and they just cut it right out again. 20 years I've been working on that. 20 years.
This was originally a rumble strip project 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And when they found out there was concrete underneath, they couldn't put rumble strips. That snowballed into all, now we got this project.
I wonder how much concrete roads we still have.
I was surprised we had as much as we do. He'll tell you right there.
I should have the number, but somewhere between 200 and 300 miles of remaining concrete road.
Right.
And you consider like all of the money that we're spending can only address 3 miles of it.
Yeah,
It's hard to make a dent in what goes out there. We have projects around the state that are still working on it. There's a lot of sections of Route 101 in the southwest part of the state that have concrete under it. Route 16, we've been working our way south to north through the corridor, doing our best.
I remember there was some in Berlin, up towards Milan, that area. I think that's all gone.
Might be, yeah.
And I, of course, remember all of this. But
It's, back in the 30s, we thought we knew what we were doing.
yeah.
We live with those decisions to this day. But hey, thank you guys so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Hey, it was fun.
I think we have fun out of it.
Oh, yeah, it's good time.
Yeah, I enjoy these things. I really do.
It's a great opportunity for public feedback. I was just talking with I think it was John Gallant. He said he lives in White Ledge Campground.
Yeah.
You know, he's more affected by the 29597 project. We're just talking about, like, we understand that this project disproportionately affects the community while trying to serve the greater public good. That is a tough balancing act.
Yeah, exactly right.
But we're trying to keep people as whole as we can.
Yeah.
That's why we go through the process.
All right, it was fun working with both of you, too.
Thank you.
No, thank you for coming out.
Well, it's not that far.
It's longer going home than it is coming down.
Once I get to the other side of it.
Everything's
Nope, I
better the
didn't
other side.
hear anything.
I think so.
We don't know. But we should figure it out.
Hey, you guys have a good night.
Stop at the casino. Not many of us can say that.
This is the
Yeah.
small plan. I don't know where
You
to
know,
put that.
that guy owns the Northern Dairy Bar.
Here, I'm trying to find, I think Jason.
Does he?
Yep, he bought that with the intention
Oh, I just,
of doing the
it
same
was,
thing here. So I think what he's doing is going from National up.
it was
And
here.
then once he's got all of this paid off, then he'll move up to.
My favorite trick for finding things is to look in places that have already been listed.
Books that don't allow it. They saw Conley was right. Bought the whole strip mall.
Maybe Jason has
Casino, and then his intention was to keep, every time the lease run out, they move further down the strip.
He's got his hands in his pockets like he's full of high something.
Yeah.
Down in Delaware, the dock, there's a lot.
We're gonna spend that, we're gonna It's on the
Never appreciate, yeah.
Well, I was a degenerate. I really was. And then finally, I had a friend of mine give me something. Here's what you're gonna do. First thing is, pay the rent. Second, buy the groceries, make sure that then you set the circle limit. And if you're gonna gamble, you're gonna smoke, you're gonna drink, you're gonna taste good, you gamble. And then, once your money is gone, you go home. I only went through a couple times this year. And I'll tell you, I just said, you know what? This is ridiculous. This is stupid. I know the odds are against me.
Oh, yeah. House always wins.
You're guaranteed to lose.
And if you win today, you'll be back next week and get it back.
All right, so your buddy's over there, you're gonna see me.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You guys have a good night.